Oh, Dave, you're allowed to smile.
Some might dispute though.
They got to you too early.
Hmm. Oh no. Huh. Okay.
Think to what's up next week. What's up next week. A bit of a delay there.
Well, it'll be our Hellblazer catch up, and so that's I think 55. So pick up wherever it is you left off last time, and
All right.
see what we're going to
Okay.
do. And we'll do our catch up for what we've on our Hellblazer journey.
Yeah, I was struggling with the Hannah Arendt cartoon. So I was trying to open it up on PDF, but I found the CBR for the copy
You should
later. I had trouble before.
no use the one that I sent you because yeah, that's a CB.
Oh, it was just there. That was the first one I picked on.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the PDF was formatted strangely, but I sent you this. The one I sent you was
Yeah. I had the CBR as well. I discovered later on.
yeah, I remember the formatting was
It was
bad.
a rather short meeting. Did the host get bored?
Well, it depends on the number of participants. Sometimes there's like six people, and then it's a good conversation. But it was just yeah, the other than Jeff, you, and me, which came from my group, it was Michelle and Kim. But yeah, if that's the case, then yeah, it'll be pretty short. He has a collection of questions, but well, I'm glad they liked it. Rick didn't show.
Uh,
I mean, I thought Rick was going to be there. That would have made things a little better, but he didn't show. Gave him the link. He registered, RSVP'd, but oh well. I mean, he's busy. He's got lots
there's
of stuff.
on the Existential Society later in Melbourne's afternoon. There's one of the local people was talking about science, one of the science worshippers.
Right.
And what does the word science mean? Gnosis. I know. There's a lot of people who know these days, and they're all Gnostics.
Mhm.
I might have shown it to you before. There's an episode of the Time Tunnel when Merlin comes from the future to create the past. And he stops by the tunnel in the glorious 20th century, looks at all the oh God, what was his name? The guy that created Lost in Space and all that. And he had all those, little computers and stuff with flashing lights in. They use the same ones. And Irwin Allen, that was right. He used the same stuff in all of his productions.
Mm.
Merlin's walking past it all. He's frozen everybody in time. And he's looking at all the machines and he said, just as I thought, mere toys. But I think Rick would love that sequence. So you have the wizard condemning technology. So,
Okay.
mere toys. So Merlin had to come from the future to create the moral, the basis for the moral ethos in the Arthurian legend. So he had to save King Arthur from the barbarians and help him build his kingdom. It's, of course, a play
Right.
on the once and future king, isn't it? That Merlin lived backwards. He came from the future and he remembered the future but didn't know the past.
Right.
I thought you'd like that. Thought you're in favour of the romantics like Rick.
Well,
Let's see. Beyond the Black
River.
With Matteo Gabriella as the artist. Oh, sorry, as the writer and the artist. Anthony Jean. Yeah, I sort of like that one. I didn't like Valentin Sex's
Hmm.
yeah, it doesn't speak. It's like, Donald Duck. They're such simple images, but they talk. They express. But he had Valentin Sex's artwork, and it's sort of monolithic, but it doesn't move. It doesn't express.
Yeah. There's a lot of artists who are like that. Yeah.
Well, the whole purpose of comic imagery is to express.
Yeah.
This one I thought was it worked. Look, all the info's coming across even without any monologue.
Right.
We're drawn into it.
Yeah.
A Pict. Oh, I've got to watch out for the Picts. Utter savages.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this version of Conan?
Yeah. It's always interesting to see different different artists' take on the material. Well, that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, I was looking at the covers they were doing back in the 30s, and of course Conan and that is, wow, sort of looks like Johnny Weissmuller. He's an athlete, superb athlete, bit muscled, but not widely outside the normal. This Conan looks very serious. A. McCleary. Is anybody we know? Oh, yeah. I see.
Possible that's Ariel. I wonder if that's Ariel. Might be Ariel. Might not be, but we'll see.
We live in the age of self-indulgence. I was looking up a video on that. There was a British history professor, and he was blaming Montaigne for introducing the ego to Western civilization. It's been all the way downhill. We finally got the Freud, and Freud made our desires into God. Well, as I was saying, I found this particular artwork quite pleasing. It tells the story quite nicely.
Yeah, this is the standard European style that I often think of when I think of European artists. Very
I'm
nice.
trying to, oh, sorry. I'm trying to figure out the pics here. What, are they from Africa or something?
Probably not. Well, none of this is historically accurate. So, I mean, supposedly this is not the continents as we know them today. The continents have changed shape, so the tribes are different. This is so far in the back that, yeah, different races, to the extent that there are races, would be different at this time.
Yeah, I never read Conan when I was a kid. I remember getting some books my mother got from work when somebody was giving away books, and I think it had the original three titles of Brack the Barbarian, who was a
Yeah.
followed yeah, sort of similar adventures, but a different personality.
Yeah, that's a nice European cartoon style. Very, very nicely delineated, nice detail, nice movement, nice emotion, nice animation. Yeah, very nice. Pleasing. Wonder how much time per page they spend. Probably a day or two.
Okay, so we have a bit of wilderness here, which isn't overly complex, but it sort of conveys an atmosphere quite well.
Yeah, nicely done. Yeah.
Well, the Romans fought the Picts, didn't they? And of course, according to the story, it cost them a lot. They did conquer Pict land only to lose it soon after because the cost of keeping it was excessive. Oh, well, you know what savage tribes do? Somehow you always manage to get tied up to a pole. That's if you're lucky. If you're not so lucky, you're on top of a pole.
Howard E. Howard was a man of his time.
Powerful warriors only have one thing to fear: sorcery. Sorcery means weak men can overcome strong men. It's definitely against the order. I go sacrifice them to their gods. Certainly a lot of skulls there. Oh, great. One of the killer apes. Seems to be a bit slightly more cerebral, Conan. He's spending a lot of time thinking rather than trying to merely chop everything apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have the context of his companion. Which is worse, betraying a Pict or the men from the fort?
Hmm. Mm. What was that? The Kiyobashi Maru Star Trek? The no-win situation?
Well, Rick says lose everything to preserve your honor.
Kobayashi.
That's actually an emotional trend in the later renditions. The first one sort of strikes me as fairly obvious. This is a lesson. Uh, you see a distress. You know, what it's a question of risk, and if the risk results in the loss of your ship, you've lost. So the smart person will not go into the neutral zone. They might stay there and observe things for a long time. In the original, it seems the distress call was just a trick of the Klingons. Well, it's a rather large fort. It would have had to have been a very large colony, but we don't get the feeling of the colony being outstandingly large. I mean, this fort is very, even though it's made of wood, is very, very elaborate. The settlers, we can still save them. Oh, there's an interesting illustration. Is she trying to be deaf? That's her weapon, I guess. Yeah, improvised peasant weapon in wargaming. I don't know how she'd go with it inside a building, though. It's not really a great choice. Uh, a weapon that long that basically you have to hack with. You'd probably be better off with a spear.
Hmm.
My husband's gone with the others after the salt. He didn't come back. A man went to look for them, a barbarian. The Cimmerian, or is it Cimmerian?
Cimmerian.
Cimmerian. If the Cimmerian is with our husbands, they will be safe. We don't wait for them, we leave. This is a rather pedestrian story for Conan, isn't it?
I'm not sure if the fans of Conan were all that discriminating, or how widely the quality varied from story to story. I'm not sure it makes a difference.
Well, we've got a demon. The demon has avian features. Well, I mean, I quite enjoyed this one. It's just flowed so nicely.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for good, well done renditions of the Conan stories, this is a good series.
But Conan was not afraid because he knew, however grisly its form may be, anything clothed in material flesh can be slain by material weapons. It's a scream of a demon. Where so they're in some grandiose medieval town.
Mm.
It's bordering on modern times. This would be more 16th century and a very
Yeah.
wealthy spot.
Don't don't look to Conan for historical accuracy. But you know, these are good. These are good comics. I'm glad we're doing them.
He was dancing among the slain, and then he
Mm.
staggered and began to reel, screaming as I'd never heard a man or beast scream before. He lived by magic, he died by magic.
Oh.
It was a mystery of his death that took the hearts out of the Picts. It saved the city, even if the colony and fort were lost.
Hmm.
So I returned to Belletarium. Okay, I have to find out where that city is on the map. He was a man, I drink to his shade, and to that of the dog who knew no fear. Do you imagine they will rebuild the fort? No, Conajora is lost to the kingdom. Barbarism is the natural state of mankind. Bah, civilization is unnatural.
Right.
The Picts took back what was theirs. The frontier has been pushed back. Civilization is a whim of circumstance.
I think you're supposed to read across and then go down to the yeah. It's hard when they don't put arrows. Tell you where to read.
Barbarism will ultimately always triumph. So we have another romantic
Then you get the original story if you're interested in reading it.
Yes, well, I would like to, but it's a bit time consuming. Okay, The Heart of Ahriman.
This is Valentine Secher. Secher. Sacher. The E with the accent is Sacher. Yeah. E with an accent mark. Acute accent. Sacher. So that'd be Sacher. Yeah. Valentine Sacher.
Okay, here we have the cityscape.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen painted comics that I've quite liked. It all just comes down to the how well you pull it off. Some of it looks really stiff and unnatural, but I've seen some good stuff.
Like we had the previous artist cityscape, and that was to me that was comic book
Yeah, well, yeah.
that gave you a very strong picture of a city.
Yeah, well, that was pen and ink with color. Yeah. This is obviously paint.
This is
Mm.
what I mean. Here's a scene.
I'm not against painted art, comics. It's all how well you pull it off. I've seen some good painted comics.
Yeah, so you look at these images, they just look at the look on this guy's face.
Yeah.
It looks distracted, like it's not there. He's looking somewhere else.
I'm gonna guess he probably hired models and photographed models.
Yeah, I had that impression. Yeah.
He probably took photographs and used them as posing the people, the actors, and then used that for his reference. It strongly looks like that's what he did. I mean, he can render pretty well, but yeah, there's not a lot of life or animation.
Well, I guess if a guy took on a pose and he said, just stand like that for several seconds while I take the photo,
Yeah,
it's where it's going wrong.
it does look like that's what happened. Yeah, that's what he did. You know, I mean, there's good things here. Nice rendering, nice color palette, nice, average composition sense, I guess. It's okay. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's all right. We've in the time we've been doing our group here, we've seen better. Remember that Temujin book,
Okay, the one about
The Mongol
Genghis
Mongol
Khan.
mystic?
Yeah, I do sort of vaguely remember it.
We never finished that. We did book one, but you didn't want to continue. But anyway, it was painted. Sort of reminds me of this. I like that better than this.
Well, there's quite a muscle man there.
Yeah.
This guy's probably just going past Schwarzenegger a little bit. But what makes a body strong? You tell me.
Well, you're not going to get a physique like that if you don't have a modern day gym to get that kind of a body.
Few
That's the only way
steroids,
you're going to get a
maybe.
body like that.
Uh, Well, actually, what enables a strong body is a strong skeleton.
Hmm.
If you've got thicker bones, your muscles just naturally become stronger without that much effort.
Hmm.
It's same. It's like a chimpanzee or a gorilla. They're monstrously powerful compared to a human due to the very thick bones.
Well, yeah, I mean you're talking about body type.
Mm.
Mesomorph, ectomorph, and endomorphs. The body type you're talking about is mesomorph.
Well, certainly the guys that would have generally made strong barbarians are guys who would have had a powerful skeleton,
Mm-hmm.
which would make them rather a bit slow, but they could absorb more punishment and wield more punishment.
Yeah. Well, it's like old Prince Valiant comics. Why did the knights always prevail over the Picts? Well, any given knight had several decades more protein in their diet than any 100 Picts did.
Yeah. Well, they adopted the Roman standard for cavalry. And the Roman standard was 7 years of training to become a knight. No, the Romans actually used the word knights, I think, but yeah, it simply meant cavalrymen to the Romans. Of course, it's like samurai. Of course, in the Middle Ages, the word took on an aura of mystique. Of course, this is the phases of culture. You have aristocracy, which is started off by the hero. Somebody comes along, carries off some enormous feat, like Oedipus, defeats the Sphinx, and establishes a royal dynasty. Now, one might assume if there was a legendary figure that Oedipus was based upon, that a royal dynasty continued, but stains by the fact that it was created via incest, which happens in the Norse mythology as well, where you have a dynasty known as the Inglings, who start off with incest. Yeah, I think the trouble of these images, although nice paintings, as you said, there's skill there. There's something too generic about them. They could be anywhere. It doesn't sort of it doesn't say Conan somehow. Well, I just found this imagery confusing. It doesn't
Right.
it doesn't form a whole. Say there's two sides of the brain, and the what is it? The logical side picks at details, but it's the mystical side that synthesizes the whole. So in this, stuff just doesn't fit together. Looks like the guy that plays the man from Atlantis. Your warrior gods can do nothing for you, Cimmerian. Cimmerian. I am the one who makes and defeats kings. I am the Black Plague. I am fear. I am the cold. And I want to see you tremble on your knees in front of me. Demon of Set, I don't fear you. Fear, Cimmerian? Fear, but you owe me terror. I conquered you. I conquered your ancestors. I burned their villages, their wives and their children. I could make you my slave or my dog. I could make you the feast of my crows, but I won't kill you today. I want you to hear the screams, the tears, the crying. My armour. I always hate this when they cut down to this smaller type and I have to blow everything up to read it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you have to do.
Well, these guys are very heavily armoured. This would have been very costly attire in the Middle Ages. Even there was a lot of, uh, novice knights that weren't that well equipped. Because armour was, very expensive stuff. A really fine suit of chain mail. In the late empire was worth about 4 years' wages that the Roman legionary got. Look, mortal. Look at the way I keep my promises. Well, yeah, there's another face. I don't know where he's looking. Looking into the spirit world or something.
And you do see this style quite frequently in a lot of Euro comics.
He's got one of those helmets from the 16th century. As
Yeah.
they called it ammunition plate. Was developed in the late 15th century as some protection against musket fire. And actually, I think it could stop an ordinary musket. So they made very heavy muskets. They used to balance on sticks, which fired steel balls to penetrate this sort of armour. And, a few Spaniards go to the Aztec Empire in this sort of armour and tear down the place. Of course, they used massive numbers of Indian tribes who were enemies of the Aztecs. It's just too difficult to get at the Spanish because of their weapons and armour. All the Aztecs had to do was wipe out the small number of Spanish and it would have been back to normal. We don't kill a lion because it bites. we train it. Look at the city. It's verging on just one vast blob. There's not really a lot you can see there. It's all hidden in the darkness.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this is another one when he's put in a prison down a hole. We had one like that before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is this girl Zenobia, is it? It's going to become his queen. Oh, another big ape. Ah, right. My name is Zenobia. I'm just a handmaid, but Terrascus will never be my ruler.
You just sort of hear the theme music playing.
Theme music.
I don't know what the Conan theme music is, but
What do
it
you
might
mean
be.
from the movie? Basil Poldoris, quite a good soundtrack.
Yeah, I only remember it vaguely. I was really, really, really young, and it was on cable. Don't think I ever watched all of it together.
Well, certainly, I've got the CD somewhere. It was certainly a CD I love greatly. The original version didn't have all the music, and then they did a later CD which had more on it. This has been an improvement in the amount of information they could put on a CD. Okay, he's met this is Macbeth, is it? He has his witch. Only one witch, not three. This is me back in the 5th century. I had a witch. I was built like a tank, but I was a coward. Spent my childhood as a coward. Till one day I fought back, and being built like a tank helped. Made all the difference. Ah, he's got a sexual organ.
Europeans.
I think, I was watching this video, and there's this British history guy, and he's talking what has interested me lately is the rise of the ego in modern times.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Well,
it's sort of like, the modern culture lives. The highest good is to gratify your desires.
well, if you read Alan Bloom, You know who Alan Bloom was?
No, no, Alan Bloom. No.
Author. Well, if you read Alan Bloom, you know where that started? According to Alan Bloom, Shakespeare.
Uh, so he,
He said, yeah, the modern ego, as we understand it today, didn't really exist until Shakespeare. Really was Shakespeare's invention.
yeah, well, he was accusing Montaigne. He was saying Montaigne's writings. I think he preceded Shakespeare a little bit.
Hmm.
But it was Montaigne who's, yeah, me, myself, and I. And yeah, it's always associated with dramatic writers. I don't know if Montaigne was a fiction writer. I can't remember now, but certainly Shakespeare wasn't. The other great example was Schiller, who emphasized egoism. And this is where we get the modern drama. You know, you watch a melodrama, what is it about? Storm in a teacup, and it's about everybody's egos.
Well,
It'd be interesting if Kenneth Smith has commented on this particular issue.
okay.
Looks like he's going to resurrect somebody else with a heart of Ahriman. Yeah, we've got some cryptic characters here. I don't know what are they, the living dead. Going to hunt down Conan. Okay, gets rescued by a pirate crew. I think this resembles another story where he gets on a boat and he has to fight the captain of the boat for dominance.
Hmm.
Freedom. The line has returned. Things have changed in 20 years, Yasunga, and probably even more in 20 days. I'm no longer the Lion of the Seas. I'm no longer Amra. A woman of Set. Now, some of these ancient cultures running around, a woman running around bare-chested wasn't that unusual. The Hour of the Dragon is coming to an end. The story was okay.
Mhm.
Well, he's sat there. Time for a battle. There is only one king. Okay. I have been several men and I have had several lives. I have been a vagrant, a mercenary, a pirate, and a knight. I was from Singara, Poinciana, and Baracha. I was a barbarian. I was a Cimmerian. I have been Iron Hand. I've been Armourer. You know who I am, O gods, O my ancestors. I now know why. He saw me fight. He saw me born. You know my heart. You know all about me. I now know why I have become king. I was always trying to figure out now why would Conan be a king? You know, he was a bit of a musclehead at times, wasn't he? She should be at his feet, surely. Was that only for the concubines? So this is the story where he gives something about Conan becoming king, which he didn't really go into great depth.
Uh-huh. And that's it for the Cimmerian. Came to the end of that run. Okay.
Uh, is that the finish of this series of comics? Is it?
Of the Cimmerian. Well, we did all of the Cimmerian. Okay, so now we could go back to pick up where we left off with the 1970s Conan series, if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm probably a bit tired of that Conan. I did like this. So this was modern editions, and it didn't do terribly much by the looks of things.
Okay. Um, After that, if you don't want to pick up where we left off with the 1970s Conan, there are Red Sonja comics spin-off with The Adventures of Red Sonja.
Yeah, well, it's an odd one. I think I find the more recent work on Conan a bit
Okay.
interesting.
Okay.
We can give up Conan for the moment, then,
Okay.
if there's nothing else modern
Think
on
you
offer.
think you've had your fill of Conan?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Sure. Got plenty to cover. All right, cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I was a bit down this week. I bought a large pair of binoculars, largish. I mean, you've probably seen smaller binoculars and you've
Hmm.
seen people with largish one. These were 70 mil objectives at 16 times. They were Hugenons. And after a while, I worked out the optics was out of alignment. Now, Hugenon supposedly would never let anything leave their battery unless it was spot on. So I took it back last Sunday and explained that, and the guy gave me back my money, and I said, "Oh, this wasn't returned previously, was it?" And he said, "Oh, no, 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 we never do that." Then I was thinking about, since I like those binoculars, getting another pair, and I went back in and I saw the binoculars back on the shelf.
Hmm.
They only had one pair. I know that because that's what they told me. And I asked, I said, "Well, I don't want them. Can I get something, ordered in a fresh box, unopened?" And they said, "No, I can only sell you those ones."
Yeah.
Modern business practice from certain companies.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like, yeah, very much the people who were employed there were employed on a sort of probably basis of how much stuff they sold. I think, like you go to a more typical old style camera store, the staff are obviously paid a wage. But in this one, it's obviously what they call it on commission. You got the feeling they're being paid by commission. So it was a very much, a very, very extreme sort of operation, which I suppose is becoming more common. I might have to try and buy the binoculars off Amazon. Amazon claims that they can deliver them in a few days, but then I wonder, has Amazon been getting returns? It's one of the weird thing that Fujinon marine binoculars are way cheaper in Australia than they are in America. It seems in America, they only sell them at full list price, whereas in Australia recently, been selling them at huge discounts. Like I bought a pair of 7x50s at literally half the price that you'd pay in America. So it's curious. So Fujinon used to supply the American military with the military binoculars, but they've switched to a German company. And in later years, maybe Fujinon doesn't like America anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these particular issues were the only modern Conan comics, were they?
Well, there's plenty of Conan out there. Plenty. Sure. Um, we could do nothing but Conan for the rest of our life if we wanted to. There's lots of Conan still being published.
But these ones we've just been reviewing now are fairly recent, what they're about in the last 20 years or something like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're pretty recent, yeah. Um, no, they're within 10 years. They're pretty recent. But there's lots of Conan.
No,
Original.
well, I'll let you know if I ever want to do Conan again.
Yeah, well, we stopped somewhere in the middle of the 1970s, yeah, but if that's you're okay with where we stopped. All right.
It's a very long stint, Conan comics.
Yep, that's fine. We got plenty to cover. Plenty to cover. Sure. Got a long list.
Okay, what's your latest post? The Christian and modern scientific capitalist worldviews are orchestrated in concert against the artistic vision of vital self-activity and self-formation, the incredibly subtle Greek middle voice of all action, in which the self is at one and the same time both the subject and the object. I call this orchestration ideological or psychological genocide for a very profound reason. It is aimed at nothing less than the extinction of a worldview, and it has overwhelmingly succeeded. The blatant modern obscurity of every philosophical concept, principle, perspective, theory, and value, even among the would-be philosophers, professors of philosophy, is the evidence. Artistic types continue to arise spontaneously as natural freaks within the human populace. But every form of normative material that they require for rising to incandescent self-consciousness in their exceptionality is modernity extinguished. Nowhere is this more transparent than in higher education. And in philosophy, most acutely of all. Right, who we got here? I got one from Rick and a couple of likes. One from me.
That one Kenneth essay that I've always talked about, I completely forgot that Rick once sent it to me.
Oh, which one was that?
Ideology.
Oh, right,
I,
you have mentioned that before.
I'll
That's
let you
that's
talk
that's
about.
on the site, is it?
Well, no, but I completely forgot that I had the PDF of Abstraction as Ideology. I'm willing to bet I could get Rick to do this one in full. It's a 19-page PDF. But yeah, I really like this ideology. But
I think Rudolf Steiner would disclaim Kenneth Smith in a sense. He would say Kenneth's problem is entirely too spiritual.
hmm,
I think, yes, Rudolf Steiner accused a lot of modern thinkers of being entirely too spiritual. It's an interesting claim, because normally he was the spiritist claiming we're living in an age of materialism and an age which is devoted to the appetite.
hmm.
He would probably accuse Kenneth Smith of being too much the egoist.
Well,
Which the ego, wrapped up in the spirit of the ego. But certainly, it's another rant from Kenneth.
no, I can send it to you if you want.
Sorry?
I could send it to you if you want.
Yeah, that'd be most interesting, I think.
It's worth the read. Completely forgot I had this the whole time. He has been at the Monday afternoon meetings. I don't think I've seen you, Ariel, for a while for the Monday afternoon Rick meetings.
Well, there's a lot of distractions in the modern age.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no shame in following along.
Um, yeah, I don't go to them very much anymore.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Back when all of the philosophy meetings started during the pandemic, yeah, I went to the number that I went to and then realized I'm not getting a whole lot out of this. It's just people's egos battling each other, and that's not worth it. So no, I don't go to any philosophy meetings anymore other than Rick's. But he's something special because he's he's Rick. But yeah, I
So,
don't
so you're
do
referring
philosophy
to
at all anymore.
you're talking about the Nietzsche meeting on the Nietzsche group meeting on Monday, were you? Or
But I like that because Rick did a lot of talking. Yeah, I would say if anybody really wants to know about philosophy, yeah, I would point to Rick as the guy.
yeah, the guy who was at the meeting, uh, yeah, he seemed a bit vague. Like, Rick has a lot of conviction in relation to his views,
Yeah,
which is not always a good thing. But that guy seemed to be sort of, a bit vague.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Mm,
It's sort of like
that was my problem. I never had a good enough grasp on the material to be able to guide the discussion.
yeah, the problem with Rick is he loves his material too much and
Hmm.
is he really needs to review his a lot of the because he brings up a lot of the concepts again and again, which are often ideological views, and perhaps Rick needs a greater objectivity to his material. Certainly would speed things up.
Well,
I was rather surprised, over the years, that point that Rudolf Steiner was making about Nietzsche's development, I haven't seen that anywhere else, but Steiner points out, and he's really bringing up the objective rather than the subjective Nietzsche. It, it, it was his path of development. Starts off as an idealist, then he becomes more rational and begins decapitating his ideals, becoming a nihilist.
there's plenty of books that psychoanalyze Nietzsche the man. If you're interested in those, you could read those. Plenty of them.
Well, not the man, but the work. The interesting point Steiner makes is Nietzsche comes to physics, the question of physics, and he claimed Nietzsche had no talent with physics or science. Wasn't really his thing, and it terrified him. Am I just a load of little atoms? So Nietzsche was a person who had to accept the science of his day, which seemed all conquering. You'd sort of that really was a time when you felt you couldn't question science. Only the most extreme romantic did. But his instincts were to rebel against science. Eventually, he goes with his instincts and gets into the philosophy of dynamism, which is not one I understand terribly well. And this was the case, they say that was the case with Stirner as well, that his philosophy was one of dynamism. which is something which is more like an opposite of rationalism. But there's not many people, not many philosophers have shown a tendency towards dynamism. So I can only name two. Possibly Schopenhauer was a little bit that way.
Oh, well, hey, Kia and Ariel, if you want to read that paper, that's an excellent 19-page essay by Kenneth. Really, really great. But I always say should spend a lot of time reading Kenneth's work to begin with. I always say that. Nobody pays attention. You know, we all have 5 years left before AI kills us all.